who are going to be talking about Ontario's climate change action plan and tools. And Brianna and Laura are both project advisors at the partnerships unit within the Ministry of the Environment and Climate Change, where they work with external organizations in the development, deployment, and scaling of behavior-based low-carbon ideas, solutions, programs, and policies.
Hi everyone, thanks so much to Civic Tech for having us. Really excited to be here and to share what we're working on with you. My name's Laura, and this is Brianna, and we are from the Partnerships Unit from the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change. Just to give you some context too, we're in the Climate Change Directorate, in the Partnerships Branch, and then in the Partnerships Unit. So that's where we sit in the government landscape.
4 levels in.
4 levels, real deep. And so what we do is we work with primarily external partners, but sometimes internal partners within government to develop and support initiatives that empower Ontarians to make low carbon choices. And what guides our work is the Climate Change Action Plan. So this is generally like a roadmap for us, and not only for the Partnerships Unit or for the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change, but for all of government to start working towards a shift to the low carbon economy. And it lays out all the actions where we'll work towards meeting our GHG reduction targets. But today, we're here to speak to you about one specific commitment that our unit is responsible for, which is to boosting public access to climate change tools. So what does that mean? So we wanted to put this slide up for you just to give you some context of where this commitment is laid out. So it's under the building and homes category, but we like to think of it as a bit more broad than that. We realize you can't read that, so I'm just going to zoom in a little bit, and just again to give you some context, I'll read this out to you. So the commitment that we're working on right now is boosting public access to climate change tools, so that means Ontarians would have access to a wide range of climate change tools to help them reduce carbon emissions. And it lays out some specific ones, so publicly accessible tools will include carbon calculators, solar potential mapping, municipal level emissions data, climate change training materials, and guidance documents for business. So we like to think of it as, we're trying to think of it, take a step back and to think broadly what it means, what climate change tools mean. We're working specifically on those specific ones that are called out in the Climate Change Action Plan, like the carbon calculator. But because our work and our unit is primarily focused on kind of motivating and accelerating behavior change at the individual level, we're trying to take a step back and think about how we can kind of define what we mean by public tools. And we're motivated also by the evidence that we know that about 90% of Ontarians are open to making changes in their everyday life to take action on climate change, but we also know that over 50% of people say they're not sure what to do. So we kind of see climate change tools as being kind of a key puzzle piece to kind of bridge the intention and action gap between what people really want to be doing, but then what they're actually doing. So we've done a bit of, so that's kind of why we're here, is kind of start thinking through what that means and to kind of tap into the expertise of this awesome group. And we've done a bit of work of kind of defining what we think we mean by public tools, but we're kind of still at that early stages of developing our approach. So when we think of public tools, we think that they're targeted to a specific user group. They present kind of timely information to the right person at the right time. They're interactive and user-friendly. Digital, but they don't have to be. We like to think of stickers as a tool as well. They could be linked to incentives to kind of motivate behavior change, like one more step. And also we think that they have potential to leverage data. And I'll stop on that point specifically to get a bit deeper too. So this point around leveraging data is kind of the reason why we wanted to come to Civic Tech, is to really dive into that piece. So an example we like to think of is the Rocket Man app that was developed after the TTC developer opened all of their data to the public. So it wasn't TTC that developed that tool, but it was someone else. And so we're thinking about what our role as government could be, like what we're best positioned to be doing to develop more public tools. And we think, you know, instead of us kind of developing them ourselves, we could maybe do some of the grunt work on our end to find out what data or what data sets would be great to be making more publicly available, or if there's like a big appetite for certain data to be developing tools, maybe we could be doing that work on our end. But instead of coming to just ask that general question, we thought we'd work backwards, and so we have a bit of an activity to lead people through once we get to the activity stage that Brianna will speak a bit more to. But just to kind of get into too how when we think of tools being digital, you're kind of thinking of them on the spectrum where a lot of times we could think of them as being like an app, and that may be the form that many of them take, but we also, again, kind of think of them on a spectrum. So like we said, a sticker could also be considered a tool. So for example, a sticker in the right place at the right time, maybe next to an elevator button, could tell you, like, you'll reduce this many GHGs by taking the stairs. And so we think of that as kind of a tool as well. And then all the way over to blockchain, which I'm still figuring out what that means, which is why it's kind of a question there. I'll pass it over to Brianna.
So why are we here at Civic Tech, you might be asking? I think it's probably clear that our thinking around this climate change tools is a bit of a work in progress, and we're at that fuzzy front end where we're trying to take in a lot of sources of information here from people who know the space much better than we do, and then we're going to take all that and converge it down into a real plan for action we'll use to support tools in the next few years. And as Laura said, we thought we would start not by talking about data, but by talking about what tools people actually feel like they need. So what seems to be these different user groups all across the province, but what they need to help them take that step from intending to act to actually acting. And we thought we'd play a card game, not during this 10-minute talk, but during the breakout group. Some of you may know it, it's called Wild Combination, and we've done a little bit of a low carbon spin about how it tends to work. Is there are 3 different decks of cards that refer to 3 different types of pieces of information. No problem. So there are scenario cards that refer to the actual low carbon action we want someone to take. So that could be eating more vegetarian meals, having the bean and cheese burrito versus the chicken burrito. Or it could be taking more active transportation, so being able to walk and cycle and bike more. That's one set of cards. Second set of cards is the different types of technology, everything from VR to NFC, like when you tap your phone, to stickers. That kind of tool, the technology that could be used. The third card, maybe the most important card, are the user cards. So we've developed profiles for about 10 different types of Ontarians, and that's from a suburban family in Richmond that kind of works for them. And our goal is with the breakout session to create a little map of all these ideas and figure out what themes are coming out. Use it as a jumping off point to discuss, are there data needs that are there that we could maybe look at helping with? But for those of you who aren't able to come over to our little breakout session, although it'll be a lot of fun, if you're busy, we understand there's lots of really great work happening. We do have a survey that I've also posted on the Slack channel under the general hashtag that can give you a chance to submit any ideas that you have, whether it's a tool that's already in development, one you have an idea for, one that one of your friends or coworkers that has already developed. It doesn't have to be overtly framed as a climate change tool. It could be a tool that helps someone learn how to cook more vegetarian meals, or it could help them figure out best routes to walk. It can be framed a little bit more loosely than that. We'll use this information in 2 ways. The first way is just to get a better sense of what's out there, just by tapping into your networks of knowledge. And the second one will give you a chance to consent to receive updates from us when we develop more concrete pieces of this support program for tools. We wanted to kind of come to this group first and test the waters a little bit and see what the responses, what the questions are. We're willing to answer and almost anything. We'll see.
Still bureaucrats.
We're still bureaucrats, but we're going to try our best. And yeah, looking forward to hearing your ideas through the survey, and also to playing the game with those of you who are brave enough to come and test it out with us. But that's it for now. We're happy to take questions, comments, anything.
Okay, so we've got time for 2 questions. If anyone has things they'd like to ask.
Are you working with any of the other ministries, like Ministry of Education or NAFTA?
I guess not so much specifically on this file, and some of our other work for sure, but we're still kind of, again, at the early days of what our approach will be for this tool. So not at this stage, but we're open to that for sure. If you have any ideas, I'd love to.
I realize you're in the early stages, but do you have an idea of like timeline in terms of or scope of these tools? Like, are you envisioning something maybe like small and easy to implement for people to sort of pick up, or maybe something that's more like a bigger project and kind of like a longer term commitment for people to hopefully use down the line?
I think you're right, it is a bit early. We do like the idea of a balanced portfolio of things we're supporting, so it's great to have some that are in this very early stage that are smaller, that are maybe more experimental, but also if there's a need, and that's partly why we're here, to figure out maybe there are a few that are great candidates for that kind of expansion or sustained support. So we'd rather, as opposed to just telling you what I think based on very little information, I'm trying to get that picture of the tools landscape.
Yeah. I'd also add, just kind of a more like specifically, like our unit doesn't typically fund research per se. We fund kind of pilot projects or like pretty tangible projects, but we definitely do look to support things that are, there's like a shorter timeline where that end product could come out to market.
And I have one more thing that I remember. So legally, our funding has to be used to either directly reduce or at least enable the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. So there needs to be some kind of practical component there. It's just a quirk to how we're funded, but fun fact.
I'm just curious about who your audience, intended audience is. Are you looking to kind of engage the public in behavior change, or are you is the net wider? Can we kind of think about how industry can change its actions too and stuff?
That's a really good point, because we are really interested in like focusing in on user groups, because we foresee that being where we can be really successful in the uptake of certain tools. But at the same time, so it's kind of a wishy-washy answer, but as it says in the Climate Change Action Plan, like under the tools umbrella, we're also looking to kind of build like guidance documents for business. So there is kind of open-endedness to who that audience is. It's not just everyday people in their everyday life. It could be, we're looking to engage people too, where maybe that's in the workplace or in the industries. So I'd say it's open-ended. I'd say just to add, I guess just thinking that through, I guess like each tool would have a really specific end user group, but the audience for like our portfolio of tools that we would support would be pretty broad.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next up is announcements. So these are not project pitches. This is just anything you would like to share with the community here. It could be news that's exciting to you. It could be job openings. It could be events that are coming up. Anything that you think folks might be interested in hearing about. If you have one.